Just ahead on American Black Journal, what are the major concerns of Detroit's older residents and their caregivers? We'll talk with the Detroit Area Agency on Aging about the results of a series of recent summits, focusing on the needs of the elderly. Plus, a local minority-owned firm has spent several months developing a bold plan to turn around Detroit's financial situation. We'll discuss what's in the plan with the company's president. That's all coming up next.
Lindsay wants to know.
So I'm curious, what's DTE Energy doing to improve their customer service?
Why don't we take a ride over there and let Rachel tell us? Hello.
Hello. Take a walk with me. Here at DTE Energy, we're working very hard to improve our service, like answering every call under 1 minute and resolving the issue on the first call.
Wow, no passing the buck, huh?
Nope. And plus, we're adding over 100 customer service jobs right here in the state of Michigan.
I need to get a real job.
I'm going to send your application.
Thanks, Rachel. DTE Energy. Know your own power.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. The Detroit Area Agency on Aging recently conducted a number of summits throughout the city aimed at getting information on the unmet needs of seniors and caregivers. The results show that it's difficult for the city's aging population to find out about community resources, and they need more help accessing services. Joining me now are Paul Bridgewater, President and CEO of the Detroit Area Agency on Aging, along with Marilyn Lawson, who's chair of the agency's advisory council, and Helen Wade, who uses the agency's services and is president of its Consumer Advisory Council. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Well, thank you for this opportunity, this long-running program.
Yes.
I'm honored to be here.
That's right. Yeah. And you have your own long-running radio show.
Yes, well,
so
thank you. Thank you.
You know how to do this. You could sit in this chair
no,
instead
well,
of over
you're
there.
doing such a good job. I won't touch that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it always strikes me in Detroit that you know, for those of us who live in the city, things are always sort of tough right now because of the lack of services, things like that.
Right.
It must be much tougher if you're an older Detroiter.
Most definitely, because what we see with the elderly population, not only are they faced with activities of daily life, but we're finding our seniors having a lot of other issues such as chronic illness and some of the things that really impair them and their ability to really live well in our communities. And what we've done over the years in the sense of our responsibility as an agency providing services and planning, we felt it was very important that we really reached out and get seniors and caregivers and providers to come to the table and start a dialogue and just look at what was going on, what are some of the challenges, and really kind of drill down, because the demographic was telling us something, and again, that trend in this world and society, baby boomers are going to have a great impact on the society.
Right.
And there's different dimensions in those age cohorts. You have folks that's doing well, prepared well, but then you have some individuals who basically have always been on the lower level of service and access to benefits in our society.
Right. So, Dawn, what did we hear at these summits? Tell me about some of the things we heard from the.
Well, one of the things we heard about was transportation.
Right.
Transportation seems to be a really big issue.
Yeah.
And here just recently at the public hearing, because we had the results of the summit that we, on April the 12th, over at Greater Grace Temple, so that people said that transportation was a great issue, getting back and forth from the doctors. In fact, Tom Cervinek, who is one of our people on the advisory council, he's at Community Services in Hamtramck. He said that you can really take, he said he's heard that you can take Boston, New York, and San Francisco and put it right into Detroit.
Put them all inside the borders of Detroit.
Yes,
right.
and the people who are in Detroit, who live in Detroit, seniors who live in Detroit, I mean, to get to the doctor is an event.
Yeah, well, and then we have very little public transportation
Most
left.
definitely, right.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's what we found in the sense of the data. Almost 19% of the elderly population in the city of Detroit live in household without transportation.
Without a car,
Yes,
right.
yes. So that even compounds the problem, because if other family members don't have cars, then they're dependent on either something else or transportation. So again, it compounds the problem.
Right. And so you are someone who actually lives this every day in Detroit, and is of course part of the agency as well. Tell me about what it's like for seniors right now in a city like Detroit.
Well, like last night, I did do some homework, and I have a list of people that comes to the consumer advisory meetings. We have it every other month, and I took it upon myself just to call, to talk, to see where everybody, where they are, what their needs are, and I'm just blessed that I do have transportation myself, and that's a blessing. But I found out transportation is one of the main things that's really bothering our seniors, and they need more transportation services.
Yeah, and that's about access to the services that actually exist for people. I know you held these summits in different areas of the city, and you heard different things in terms of priority from people in different places.
Right, and again, I think it bears out in the sense of where the elderly population reside. Detroit housing stock is old. And one of the things that really came out was a discussion about minor home repair.
Right.
And many of the seniors and most of the homes weren't built for seniors, so there needs to be a considerable amount of home modification.
Right.
And I think that's something that we have to look at. When we talked about Detroit Works project and the migration in communities that's almost abandoned.
Right.
In most cases, those homes that are in those neighborhoods that seem to be stabilized are probably owned by the elderly population. So they're trying to stay in these neighborhoods. The ones that are in thriving neighborhoods, they're getting older. They need somebody to come in and do chore services like cutting the grass, shovel the sidewalks, and that's one of the key areas. And we don't have monies to do that. And the challenge is, at one time we had received a chore grant from the county. We lost those funds, but that's added value to make sure that those small things become important, because seniors want to stay in their home as long as possible.
Right. I was going to ask you guys about the Detroit Works program and the Detroit Future City Plan, which talks about really trying to compact the population of the city into into denser areas. That's going to affect the elderly more than other people, because, as you point out, in a lot of these places where you have one or two houses on a block, the person who lives there is an older person.
When we looked at the data with Detroit Works, there have not been a brand new nursing home built in the city of Detroit since 1968.
That's right, right.
Many of them have been remodified, but yet a brand new from ground up has not taken place. But if you want to look at building that type of arrangement, you just can't build it as a freestanding, but you have to build it like a Henry Ford Village, whereas people will come into a continuum. And again, I think that's going to really help possibly motivate somebody that's in those neighborhoods to say, well, I want to move in.
I want to move there because I'm going to get something better.
And Rivertown development, that's the new development that's down
right
off
off
Jefferson.
East Jefferson,
Yes.
So you think that's a good model?
We know one woman who's 91 years old, who's been in a home for 60 years. She went down and visited the facilities, and she said, I want to move here.
I want to move here, right.
Yes. You build it, they will come.
Right. Yes. What are some of the things that city government or state government needs to do to make it easier for seniors to access the services that exist? Because that was one of the big things they were telling you in these summits is there are services out there, we just can't get them.
Right. Well, again, I think some of the biggest challenges, especially here in the city of Detroit, and it's probably with all population issues, crime.
Right.
Crime and safety.
Right.
You know, I think that seniors just don't feel that right now that we have a police force that can be responsive to their needs. And we've got to create a better, safer community for elderly population. And it's going to take some strategies in the sense of how do we do that, in the sense of making the city more friendly, in the sense of sidewalks or those kinds of amenities. One of the things that have helped us in this planning process, and we come up with this brand new conceptual models. We've divided the city up in 5 areas.
Right.
And what we want to do is take the money and drive it down and give monies to a coordinating agency that will bring all the resources together, and they will determine where that money should be spent.
Okay.
If it's transportation, if it's medication management or health promotion, if it's just community coming together and saying that now we're going to have a better Meals on Wheels program
Sure.
and have volunteers and use some of these kitchens to cook those meals, then I think the key is if the state would certainly, when we get money, there's boundaries and regulation that we have to spend money
Sure.
in. But I think when we talk about developing communities for a new age population, we got to step beyond what we traditionally
What we
get funded.
typically have done,
Yes,
right?
yes,
We've got to
yes,
think
yes.
differently.
Yes,
right.
yes, yes.
Well, and you think about Detroit and the way that it's depopulated and deteriorated. A lot of the things that just to make life sociable for seniors as well. I mean, think of the community centers
Yes.
that we've lost. I'm not sure what part of the city you live in, but tell me some about what you don't have there that maybe you used to.
I live in like the northwest side of the city, and pretty much where I live, I do have access to a lot of things, so I don't have too hard a problem with anything too much.
Okay.
And but I do, I like to know about other people because I'm so concerned about others, our seniors, and what they're doing, what they're not doing, what they have or what they don't have, because I want them to be where I am too.
Right.
And that's my concerns right now. So I'm trying to do something about it, or get Mr. Bridgewater to look at more things for us.
Right. So tell me about next steps with this. You guys have got all this data. Where do you push it from here?
Well, I think one of the keys is looking at where do we make traction, and every 10 years we take this data and one of the things we found out and have done studies on the health challenges, and we have a document we call Dying Before Their Time,
Right.
and which means that we've got to get into the health arenas and put social and health components together.
Together, sure.
Yes, because we can complement that. And so our next step is to release those grant proposals. We will seek bidders coming in and who could pull together the best collaboration.
Right.
And we know that we have these dollars, but we got these needs.
Right.
How do
Yes.
we impact it?
Yeah.
But yet more importantly, where and who can we bring to the table to be able to make the changes in local communities.
That's right.
And again, I think that becomes the key, because what we're finding out of this summit, there's different issues in different communities.
Yes,
and,
right.
And the only way that we're going to be able to get the results has got to be local.
Yeah, it's not one size fits all.
Yes.
All right. Well, great to have you guys here. Great work on the summits, and we'll look forward to some changes that make it better.
Most definitely.
Thank you for
Coming up next on American Black Journal, a local consulting firm says it knows how to stabilize the city of Detroit's long-standing fiscal problems. We'll find out what's in their turnaround plan next. Foster McCullum White & Associates is a political consulting and organizational management firm based in Troy. The minority-owned company has developed its own plan to solve the city of Detroit's financial and operational issues. So, what's different about this restructuring plan, and what kind of reaction is it getting from city and state leaders? Joining me now to answer these questions is Eric Foster, who's the president and co-founder of Foster McCullum. Welcome back to ABJ. We usually have you here on the round table.
Yes, we do. Yes, we
But
do.
now you're here talking about your work. Now, last time I checked, you were not the emergency manager for Detroit.
Yes,
but,
no, we're
but
not.
from reading this plan, maybe it sounds like you guys maybe should have been in on that decision. I mean, you got a lot of detail about what has gone wrong over a long period of time, and more importantly, what the opportunity is now to fix it.
Yes, well, we decided as a company a couple years ago to start researching the problem, because hearing all of the concerns of people, we said, we got to dig deeper. It's not something that just happened in the past 5 years. It's not something that happened in the past 10 years. As our research has led us to see, this goes all the way back to the beginning of the 1960s.
Right, the late 1950s, early 1960s is when you really start to see the decline in population, and with it, the exodus of money.
Exactly. There's a Time News article from 1961, October. It says Detroit and the city of decline, $15 million budget deficit. Cobo Hall was losing money. 20% unemployment in the city. It lost almost 300,000 people. Blight, abandoned homes. All you have to do is change Mayor Mariani to Mayor Bing,
Right.
and you're dealing with the exact same situation.
Right, right. And so as these problems have developed, one of the other problems that's developed is that we haven't been very responsive to it. We haven't said we're losing population, we're losing money, so city government has to adjust. Instead, we've sort of operated as if everything was the same. And so that's why we find ourselves in the situation we have now.
I think one of the core challenges has been the desire to continue to fund the same quantity of departments
of
what
services.
people have expected. And then in the 60s, competing against Ford, GM, Chrysler, and AMC, you had to offer a certain level of benefits. So as deficits continued to grow, we continued to borrow.
Right.
Collectively, the city has 30 of the past 48 years has run deficits totaling over $4.2 billion across all agencies, not just general fund.
Right.
And has only run surpluses of $871 million. So that's a $3.4 billion historic deficit.
Right.
And you've had to borrow money.
Right.
At high interest rates.
Yes, at very high interest rates.
Exactly.
One of the interesting things in the report, we hear a lot of times in Detroit about our enterprise agencies, places like the parking department, the water and sewage department, places that actually bring in revenue. Lots of people like to say, well, they have money. We should be sort of celebrating that and maybe figuring out how to do that other places. In your report, though, you point out that there's trouble in those places too.
Exactly. Think of it as you have a car accident, you've got 3 injury victims. The enterprise agencies, general fund, and component agencies. Well, the general fund agencies, one, haven't made a surplus as a group since 2005.
Right.
2, the escalation of their borrowing has exceeded their proceeds, or profit, if you will, that's pledged to that borrowing to heights of where they're not meeting the minimum bond payments.
They're not making their minimum.
Basis.
It's like borrowing on a credit card and not making even your minimum payment.
Exactly.
Right.
And then that's a flawed model of pledging all of your proceeds to borrowing.
Right.
So the ability to actually reinvest with your own proceeds for good operations and efficient service, you're not able to do it because it's all pledged out to borrowing. That's $11 billion.
Right. Right.
Of the $22.7 billion in total that the city has in obligations, loans, and the like.
Yeah, and so I mean, in short, it's that these are not parts of government that are somehow healthier or in better shape really than the general fund. That the water department, the parking department, they have big problems of their own that are going to need sorting out.
If you're going to fix the city of Detroit, you've got to fix all 3 problems because they're interconnected.
Right.
If you leave the 3 accident victims on the ground and 2 of them, the enterprise agencies and component agencies, die, the general fund dies.
It goes with it.
You have to solve all 3 in totality from the beginning for a sustainable solution.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the solutions that you guys come up. What are your ideas for twisting this, turning this back upside down so that we're going in the right direction?
Well, first, it's getting to a core of 23 agencies that impact quality of life and buying decisions. We base it on the model of 1, accepting the fiscal reality of where we are, reducing the long-term debt load and payment obligations by 50% minimum to start with, but then funding the departments that impact quality of life and doing the authority and regional models for those other non-core agencies that still need to deliver services, but the city can't fiduciarily be responsible for anymore. Okay. And in our restructuring plan, one of the things that we've been able to do is by going in these models is to find ways with the revenues that are coming in, even though they're declining, to invest in police, building safety and engineering, parks and recreation, the fire department, EMS. So that, because those agencies impact the purchasing decision of residents and businesses.
That's right. You've got to be able to deliver enough services to make the people who live here want to stay, and then to attract more.
Exactly. And if you're not focused on that, and then the other agencies, the other entities that we're tied to heavily from a debt situation, some need to go into a regional model, some need to go into an authority model, such as the water department, DDOT, we need to work on the federal side and state side to transfer that to the RTA.
Right.
Because for the RTA to survive, the RTA needs the stable revenue stream
Right.
of the existing transportation system.
Sure.
SMART, DDOT, and the Ann Arbor Authority, no different than the Chicago RTA,
Right.
which has those revenue generating components
Sure.
as a part of the regional tax and federal dollars that come in to help sustain them and keep them profitable.
Right. And so a lot of people, I think, would criticize this plan by saying you're giving up on ownership, quote unquote, of these things for Detroit. So if you take the water department and put it into a regional authority, that means we don't own it anymore. What's your answer to that?
Well, my response is, and our partner's response is basically this. The core thing is to deliver services that impact the 695,000 people and over 100,000 businesses in the city of Detroit who are buying the product right now and aren't getting served.
Right.
Right now, the water department, the lighting department, some of these other agencies, health and others, they don't put one more police car on the street. They don't put one more unit for an EMS truck to be out. They don't open a rec center.
Right.
If you want to really change Detroit so that the people here see value in government and that the government values them, those are the agencies you fund. Those other services have to be delivered, and in our models, we've laid out a pathway where the city and organized labor can be a partner in ownership along with the bondholders. Public-private authority model, and then using the VIBA system where labor takes an ownership stake.
And then VIBA is for retiree health care.
For retiree health care, where labor takes an ownership stake, gets a portion of net proceeds if the authorities run profitably to fund their VIBA, and we transfer the current assets we have in their pension plans to them. So they can manage it, and they have a vested interest, a partnership with the city and with the bondholders, and then if it runs well, everybody gets a cut of the net proceeds.
Everybody
along with
wins.
having net proceeds to invest in those agencies.
And so you guys announced this plan maybe a week and a half ago, I think, or maybe 2 weeks ago.
Well, actually, initially came out last year. Your colleague Rochelle Riley
that's right.
That's article on it. We've updated it because as the situations have changed with the city, our deficit situation has grown. 2012 fiscal year total across all three of our accident victims, if you will, $617 million total deficit.
Right.
And we've encumbered another $1.4 billion in borrowing to add to our debt load. It was $21.3 billion at the end of the 2011 fiscal year. It's 22.79.
Right. It's getting worse as we don't do anything. So how has this been received by Kevin Orr, Andy Dillon, the state treasurer? I mean, the people who are now here trying to sort this out, are they receptive to this?
To a certain degree. We've had a good conversation with Kevin Orr last week in regards to this, and hopefully we'll be sitting down to talk with him. We've been a part of a work group that the treasurers had where we've advanced these ideas. One of the things that we feel, though, in this whole process is allowing minority and local firms that have put this type of time and effort to get into the process to work with the Conway, McKinsey, Jones, Day, and look at these solutions, because we based our solutions on, one, what are best practices done in other parts of the country, two, restructuring methods that can appease the bondholders, not penalize the current workforce, and build partnerships with labor, and three, will actually get value to the customers right now. We got 695,000 customers buying this product. We have to deliver value for them.
Yeah. One of the things that strikes me about this is, I mean, there's a lot of detail in your report. I mean, it goes through all kinds of things in terms of the way city departments function and how they manage money. But overall, these are pretty simple solutions, right? I mean, this is pretty common sense stuff. You can't spend more money than you have. You can't borrow more money than you can pay back, and you've got to deliver on the promises that you make to the people who are buying your service.
Exactly. And I think one of the things as we look forward into this next upcoming election is the people that are elected to police commission, city council, mayor's office, they have to be people that are as smart or smarter than the department heads that they hire, as well as have the willingness to look at the all of the detail. You can't solve this in a one-pager.
Right.
You can't solve this in 2 or 3 bullet points. You have to be willing to roll up your sleeves and go through the same extensive
the
review
whole
we
thing.
did to then develop and make decisions that are based on delivering value to the 695,000 customers in the city of Detroit and 100,000 businesses. If you're not doing that, false promises of holding on to ownership of things that don't deliver value doesn't help any of the citizens we need to help.
Right. Great advice for the upcoming election.
Yes.
Thank you for being here, and congratulations on the work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear what you thought about today's program and get your ideas for future topics. Connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you next time on American Black Journal.
Lindsay wants to know,
So I'm curious, what's DTE Energy doing to improve their customer service?
why don't we take a ride over there and let Rachel tell us? Hello.
Hello, take a walk with me. Here at DC Energy, we're working very hard to improve our service, like answering every call under 1 minute and resolving the issue on the first call.
Wow, no passing the buck, huh?
Nope. And plus, we're adding over 100 customer service jobs right here in the state of Michigan.
I need to get a real job.
I'm going to send your application.
Thanks, Rachel. DTE Energy. Know your own power.